All right, so Netflix has a new movie out called The Bird Box. It just premiered today, and I just got through watching it. And when I tell you this movie was so good, from a 1 to 10, I give it a 6. And I'll explain why only a 6 and not maybe a 9 or 10. This movie kind of reminds me of, if you've ever seen The Happening before or even A Quiet Place. It's very similar. They all three of them are basically similar in the aspect that it's an extraordinary or an abnormal presence. Nothing really is explained as to where it comes from or who it is or what causes it, and it's just there from out of nowhere. No explanation on how it's defeated, what brought it there, or why it is there. So let me break it down for you. So Sandra Bullock, of course, love her. She's amazing. She is freaking amazing. She It starts off with her being pregnant, and what's her name is her sister. I forgot her name. The girl from American Horror Story. The girl, you don't know her. Um, she's pregnant. She's not really feeling it because I guess she didn't really want to be a mom, and whoever her boyfriend was kind of left her to do it by herself. So she's not really feeling the pregnancy or the kid. So that's kind of where it starts off. Now, it jumps into the craziness right away. It tells that, the presence is here. It's causing people to go crazy and kill themselves. But she's kind of skeptical, like, it's not going to happen to me kind of attitude. So she kind of doesn't really pay too much attention to it, or kind of, she doesn't prepare for what can happen or the worst of the worst that can happen. So, and then all of a sudden, it attacks her sister. The sister dies, and now she's holed up in a house with a bunch of random people, pregnant. So, as you can imagine, supplies starting running low. Another pregnant lady comes in and joins the crew. I mean, this all happens from start to where I'm at. Happens maybe within a day or two. No, in a day. And they all get held up there. They figure out, okay, we're running out of supplies. We have to go get more supplies. They go, of course they get attacked and somebody dies. They get supplies, they come back. Now they let in another strange person, but he's sympathetic and they let him in. It turns out, all right, so it turns out he's working for the presence that's there. Working for as the presence, how do I explain this? It comes through vision. Like if you see it, or if you see it, or you catch a sight of it, it triggers something in you, makes you go crazy, and makes you kill yourself. So it does that to the majority of the people, but it takes a few people to help them get to the other people. So they'll play the victim, and then all of a sudden they'll force them to open their eyes and look at the thing, and then causing them to kill themselves. It doesn't really explain why it wants to kill everybody or why it needs everybody dead, but their agents say, oh, it's beautiful, it's gonna clean up the humanity and all kind of stuff. So that's where it is. So the guy comes in and causes basically almost all of whoever was in the house to die. So now it's just her, the two babies, because now her and the pregnant girl have actually given birth. And it's two babies, one boy, one girl. So it's just her, the two babies, and another one of the guys that was in the house with her. And then they flash forward 5 years. Her and the kids are there, and the guy dies from being forced to look at these things. And before he dies, they actually got somebody to respond to their Mayday SOS or whatever, and they say, okay, we have a compound, come here. But she doesn't believe it because she thinks it could just be some of the other people trying to get them to look at these creatures. So yeah, the guy dies, and so she takes the journey with the children. Of course, they have to keep themselves blindfolded because she knows now that they can't look at these things or else it'll cause them to kill themselves. And they have a strategy, which is why I think they call it the bird box, is because they use the birds. The birds can kind of sense when these things are coming around. So they use the birds as a like a warning signal. And she carries the birds. She gives one of the kids the box with the birds so they can kind of alert them when these things are close by. So yeah, they get to the compound, and it turns out there's a compound full of blind people. So they're actually thriving because they don't have to, they're not going to see anything. And there's no people trying to force them to see, because even if they force them to see, they can't see anything because they're blind. And a couple of sighted people are there, and the birds are there to warn them when these things come close and everything, and blah, blah, blah. And that's where it ends. Now, it throws, the name throws me off because it's such a, being called the bird box, you would think it would have more to do with birds in a box, but when you think about it, at the end they kind of do end up in a bird box, locked in this building with the birds flying around, using the birds as some sort of signal. And the fact that they carry the birds around in a box, most of the movie kind of explains why they call it the bird box. The characters were well played. That one guy's in there from Of Mice and Men, who I love. I just can't remember his name right now, but I love him. He's an amazing actor. Sandra Bullock is amazing. It was very well acted out. It was like it wasn't even a Netflix movie, because, you know, Netflix movies sometimes are kind of corny. That girl from Dumpling is in there. Yeah, it was very well thought out. But like I said, just like The Happening, and The Happening, the thing comes, the blow of a wind, people kill themselves, I think, or the people die, and then one day just leaves and stops. No explanation where it came from, no explanation why it left or how it left. Just like A Quiet Place also. They just came out of nowhere, no explanation how they got there, but it does give a resolution as how they can be defeated, which is what's good about A Quiet Places, because there is some sort of resolution on how to defeat these things and get rid of them. The Bird Box, there is no explanation how they got there. There's no explanation why they came there. There's no explanation as to why they want everybody dead. And there's no explanation of how they're defeated, or even if they defeated. It's like they'll have to live with these things forever. So that's the one thing that I didn't like about it, is that there's no backstory, there's no explanation on anything. And it's just like War of the Worlds too. These things came, and then all of a sudden they died. I mean, they kind of explained how they died, is that they couldn't, you know, these people with their music, they couldn't survive in the atmosphere, and that's why they kind of rusted out and died in War of the Worlds. But this movie, like I said, no explanation as to, no resolution actually. So, I mean, like I said, it's a good movie. If you don't mind no explanation or anything like that, the movie's very gripping. It's heart-wrenching. You know, at the end I cried because it was very touching. But like I said, it's an amazing movie. Netflix has absolutely done it again. Like, they've been pumping out really good movies, and a lot of them are corny, but this one wasn't corny at all. It was actually very good. If you like The Happening, it's definitely a must watch. If you like The Quiet Place, it's definitely a must watch. War of the Worlds, and on and on and on. But yeah, I definitely would watch this again, and I definitely would recommend it. Like I said, it's a 6 out of 10, and the reasons why is what I just explained. So If you've seen it, let me know what you think.